The summer sun poured down over the Blue Ridge Mountains of North Carolina as Zaria Freeman finally spotted the cabin. After 3 hours of winding roads and a playlist full of neo-soul, she pulled into the gravel driveway with a sigh that came from deep in her soul. The place looked just like the picture's rustic wood, stone walls, and not another house in sight. Exactly what she needed, 2 weeks away from Charlotte, her clients, and the impossible pressure of always having to hold everybody else together. She parked her red SUV under the shade of a sweet gum tree and stepped out, already reaching for her overnight bag. Just as she was about to pull the second suitcase from the trunk, the sound of tires crunching up the gravel made her freeze. Another car, her brow furrowed. This was a private rental, off a dead-end road. Nobody else was supposed to be here. A sleek black BMW rolled to a stop next to her. From it stepped a tall, broad-shouldered man with deep brown skin, short twists, and a calm but confident energy that hit her instantly. He wore a light blue button-up with the sleeves rolled up, forearms flexing as he shut the door. Their eyes met. Both of them froze. Zaria's heart skipped hard. The man's dark eyes were focused, intelligent, and entirely too familiar in a way she couldn't explain. Hey, he said after a moment, his voice smooth and low. Sorry to bother you, but is this 1410 Whispering Pines Drive? It is, Zaria said, shifting her stance. Why? I rented this place for the next 2 weeks. I thought maybe I missed a turn, or you. What? She interrupted. I'm renting it right now, as in, I just got here for my 2-week stay. He blinked. You're checking out today? No, I'm checking in. I reserved this house for June 15th through the 29th. He scratched the back of his head, genuinely puzzled. So did I. They both looked at each other, then at the house, then back at each other. The silence felt charged. Too long, too awkward, to something. Damn, he muttered. Must be a mix-up on the booking site. System error, or something. Zaria crossed her arms. Well, whatever it is, you're gonna have to find somewhere else to stay. I got here first. He gave a crooked smile that sent a flicker of heat across her chest. Actually, I passed your car on the last turn. Technically, I got here first. Zaria narrowed her eyes. Cute. I'm just saying, he replied, holding up his hands playfully. How about we call the platform and sort it out before we throw hands? What followed was 40 minutes of agonizing calls, hold music, and frustratingly polite agents. By the time they hung up, the situation was clear. The cabin was double booked due to a glitch. The owner was traveling in South Africa with no cell service, and there wasn't another rental for 50 miles in any direction. The man leaned against his BMW, arms folded across his chest. Well, he said, we got a problem. Zaria sighed and rubbed her temples. This was supposed to be her escape, her space to breathe. But here was this man, attractive, smooth-talking, to damn nothing but complications. He must have noticed her hesitation because he said, look, just hear me out. We split the place. Set ground rules. Share the space like civil adults. I'll even give you the master bedroom. She raised an eyebrow. You want me to share a house with a total stranger? Technically, we're not strangers anymore. I know you drive a red car, and you bite your lip when you're annoyed. Zaria immediately stopped biting her lip. And I know you're way too observant. He laughed. The sound was warm, rich. It made her want to smile, even though she didn't trust him yet. All right, Mr. Observant, she said cautiously. You show me your ID, I'll show you mine. No funny business. We draw up rules, strict ones, and the moment you start acting sideways, I'm calling the cops. Fair, he said, stepping forward and extending his hand. Malik Carter. Nice to officially meet you. Zaria Freeman, she replied, shaking his hand. His grip was firm, his palm warm. The handshake lingered a second too long. As they walked up the porch steps with their bags, something inside her whispered that this wasn't just a vacation anymore. This was about to be something else entirely. The next morning began with quiet footsteps and territorial tension. Zaria had woken early, determined to claim the kitchen before Malik's turn. But when she tiptoed downstairs, he was already there leaning on the counter, sipping coffee, and scribbling in a notebook. "Morning," he said without looking up. "Coffee's fresh." Zaria blinked. He wore simple black joggers, a fitted white tee, and a pair of glasses she hadn't seen before. His hair was still damp, like he'd just showered. He looked good. Too good. She poured herself a cup, cautiously watching him over the rim. "You work early for someone on vacation." He tapped the notebook. "Just making sure we don't kill each other. Thought we should establish some house rules." She raised an eyebrow, but sat across from him anyway. For the next hour, they talked like diplomats brokering a peace treaty. Zaria got the master bedroom, citing safety. Malik nodded without protest. Kitchen hours were split. Bathroom times were rotated. Common areas were labeled neutral zones. No loud music after 10. No strangers in the house. No passive-aggressive post-its. "What about phone calls?" Malik asked, his voice a little too casual. Zaria caught a flicker of something behind his eyes. "Private calls happen in bedrooms or outside. No eavesdropping, intentional or not." He nodded, jotting that down like he'd expected the rule. By the time they finished, they'd created a full-on coexistence contract. But something unspoken hovered between the lines, something neither of them addressed. The house suddenly felt smaller, the walls closer, and neither of them wanted to admit that sharing the same roof didn't feel like a mistake. Anymore it felt like a challenge. Later, Zaria sat on the porch with her journal, watching Malik stack firewood out back. He moved with the kind of rhythm that came from someone who wasn't rushing anything, every gesture precise. Focused. He looked up and caught her watching. Didn't smirk, didn't wink. Just nodded. She looked away fast, pretending to scribble something important. She was supposed to be unwinding, healing. But now she was sharing a house with a man who was too observant, too charming, too everything. And something about it made her pulse pick up in ways she hadn't felt in a long time. Inside, Malik set his coffee down, opened his laptop, and stared at the screen. His reflection in the black glass looked tired. He hadn't come here to meet anyone. He hadn't planned for any of this. But something about Zaria's presence, her fire, the guarded way she moved through the house, it unsettled him. In a way he didn't hate. She was watching him, but she didn't trust him. He didn't blame her, because he wasn't being honest. Not with her, not with himself, and the truth. He wasn't a lawyer, and she wasn't just on vacation. They were both hiding, and it was only a matter of time before their secrets caught up with them. Zaria came downstairs the next morning, planning to avoid him. She figured if she timed it right, she could sneak past the living room, grab some fruit, and head back upstairs before Malik even noticed. But the smell of coffee drew her in. He was already at the table. Laptop open, typing fast. The glasses were back. So was the focus. "Morning," he said without looking up. "There's fresh coffee." She poured herself a cup, her movements slow, measured. "You always this productive on vacation?" "Court case," he replied. "Still typing. Deadlines don't care about vacations." Zaria blinked. "Court case? I thought you said you do corporate law." "Yeah, contract dispute. Real estate." She didn't respond, just sipped. But something didn't sit right. The way he answered too quickly, too clean, like a script. "What about you?" he asked finally. "What kind of job needs a 2-week solo trip into the mountains?" "I never said it was about work." "You didn't have to," he said, finally looking at her. "You talked about pressure, about needing to step away. That sounds like burnout." Zaria raised her eyebrows. "You ask a lot of questions for a lawyer," he smirked. "Occupational hazard. We're trained to gather facts." "I thought lawyers were trained to argue." "Some of us do both." The way he was watching her now made her stomach tighten. It wasn't casual, it was clinical. She recognized it. The same kind of scanning she did when assessing a new patient. She'd been trained to spot it, and he was good, too good. "What do you do, Zaria Freeman?" he asked. "You've avoided that question more than once. Maybe I like being mysterious. Or maybe you're hiding something." The words settled between them like smoke. Zaria leaned forward slowly. Everybody's hiding something, Malik. Question is, why are you so interested in mine? He held her gaze, and for the first time, the confidence in his eyes faltered. Because you intrigue me. She didn't respond. She couldn't, because deep down, she knew it wasn't just intrigue. He was studying her, measuring, calculating, and she'd done the same thing to clients for years. The next moment dragged out too long, so she broke it. What kind of law did you say again? Corporate litigation. Contract stuff. Boring. She nodded slowly, but it didn't track. The language he used, the way he described things, something was off. You ever feel like someone's lying to your face and hoping you won't call them on it? She asked, not even trying to hide. The edge in her voice. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Every day, when she retreated upstairs, she grabbed her phone and searched the name Malik Carter. Charlotte corporate lawyer. What popped up made her blood run cold. There was a Malik Carter, all right. But he died in a car crash 3 months ago. She didn't have time to process it. Her phone rang. Zaria, baby, how's the cabin? It was Renee, her best friend. It's peaceful, she said, her voice flat, quiet. You don't sound relaxed. You working again? No, not working. She glanced out the window. Malik was on the deck below, shirt sleeves rolled up, sipping coffee like he hadn't just told the world's smoothest lie. Renee, can I ask you something? Hypothetically. Girl, your hypotheticals are never hypothetical. If someone gave you a fake identity, what does that say about them? That they're dangerous? Or they're running? A knock at the bedroom door cut her off. Zaria. Malik's voice was soft. You all right? She hung up quickly and walked to the door. He stood there with 2 mugs in his hands. Tea, peace offering. I think we got off on the wrong foot this morning. She didn't reach for the tea, he sighed. Look, I know I came on strong, it's a habit. I tend to overanalyze when I feel off balance. He placed 1 mug on the dresser. I'll leave it here in case you change your mind. His phone buzzed. Again, then again, you're not gonna get that, she asked. It's not important, the buzzing continued. His jaw clenched. Sounds urgent. It's not. The phone rang loud, insistent. Zaria stepped back, arms crossed. Answer it, I'll give you privacy. Malik hesitated, then answered. His tone shifted. Cold, businesslike, detached. No, I told you, I'm not coming back. Until this is handled. Don't threaten me. I know exactly what I left behind. Zaria watched from the doorway. His back was tense. His tone was sharp. She didn't understand the words, but the energy, the fear, the pressure was all too familiar. When he hung up, she asked quietly, bad client. He turned, and for once, there was no defense in his face. Just exhaustion. Something like that. She looked at him carefully. Can I ask you something? He nodded. Have you ever felt like you're living someone else's life? Like everyone expects you to be the strong one. The one with answers, but inside, you don't even know who you are anymore. He exhaled slowly. Every damn day. She nodded, the words too close to home. That call, he said, voice raw, was someone trying to pull me back into being the man I'm trying to leave behind. What kind of man? He looked her in the eyes. The kind who hurts people. That night, the storm rolled in hard and fast. Rain lashed against the windows, wind howling through the trees. Zaria curled up in her room, the soft light of her phone screen the only thing keeping the shadows at bay. She tried reading, journaling, even meditating, but her thoughts kept circling back to Malik. To the phone call, to his voice when he said he was the kind of man who hurts people. Just before 10, the lights flickered once, then cut out completely. Silence fell over the cabin. The kind that swallows sound. Zaria. Malik's voice echoed up the stairs. I'm okay, she called back, grabbing her phone for the flashlight. Breakers out. Whole grid must be down, he shouted from below. I'm checking now. Thunder cracked overhead, shaking the windows. Zaria opened her door and stepped into the hallway, the dark pressing in on all sides. She followed the narrow light of her phone down the hall, then dash lightning. So bright, so sudden, it blinded her. She stumbled, one hand catching the wall, and the next moment she collided with something warm and solid. Malik, his hands gripped her shoulders, steadying her. "I got you," he said softly. They were standing too close now. Closer than their rules allowed. She could feel the heat radiating off his body. Could smell the faint scent of cedarwood and coffee. "I was looking for candles," she whispered. "I found some in the kitchen." His thumbs moved in slow, unconscious circles on her arms. Lightning flashed again, illuminating his face. His eyes locked on hers. Neither of them moved. "Zaria," he said, voice lower now. She couldn't breathe. "We should," she began, but didn't finish. "Should what?" he asked. "A step closer." "I don't know." His hand brushed her cheek, tracing the line of her jaw with an intimacy that made her heart pound. She should have pulled away. She didn't. "This is reckless," she whispered. "Completely," he said, but didn't let go. Another strike of lightning. In that frozen flash of light, she saw him clearly. No masks. No clever words, no guarded charm, just raw emotion. Real want, and then darkness, and then his lips. The kiss started soft, a question, but when she kissed him back, it turned into something deeper, something aching, something neither of them had expected. He backed her against the hallway wall, his body pressed close, warm and grounding. She clutched at the front of his shirt, not sure if she was pulling him closer or holding herself up. "God, Zaria," he breathed against her lips. "What are we doing?" She didn't answer, because in that moment, she didn't care. Somehow, they made it to her room, hands tangled in shirts and curls, lips barely parting long enough to breathe. The storm outside raged on, but inside it was nothing but heat and want and desperation. They didn't talk, they didn't need to, because every touch was a confession, every kiss a question answered, and for one night, none of it mattered. Not the lies, not the guilt, not the past, just this, just them. Zaria woke to soft light and the scent of coffee. The storm was gone. In its place came the hush of wet leaves and distant birds. For a brief moment, everything felt peaceful until the memory hit her like a wave. The kiss, the heat, his hands, his voice in the dark. She sat up slowly, pulling the sheet tighter around her as she scanned the room. Malik was gone. She heard faint sounds from downstairs, the quiet thud of footsteps, a cabinet closing, the scrape of a chair. Her heart raced, torn between wanting to see him and wishing he'd vanished with the storm. Their rules were clear. This wasn't supposed to happen. Her eyes drifted to the corner of the room, her laptop still open on the dresser. The screen glowed faintly with the same search results from the night before. Malik Carter, corporate lawyer. Died 3 months ago. She shut the laptop. She needed space, time, air. When she came downstairs, he was gone. A folded note sat on the kitchen counter. Ran into town for supplies and coffee. Might be gone most of the day. She stared at his handwriting, neat and composed, like the version of him he wanted her to believe. Even the way he signed his name felt calculated. She was dressed and in the car within 10 minutes. The road into town was longer than she remembered. Windy, slick from the rain. But it gave her time to think, and she needed to think. Because something had shifted inside her. Something deeper than the kiss, more confusing than the attraction. Something that felt like recognition. He wasn't who he said he was. But she also wasn't who she used to be. She spent the day walking through shops in the small town they had discovered together just 2 days before. She nursed a black coffee in a quiet bookstore cafe, watching the locals chat about the storm and life like none of this was complicated. Every logical part of her screamed to walk away, leave the cabin, leave him, let it go before it went further. But when she closed her eyes, all she could see was the look on his face in the dark. Not the version he performed. Not the charming mystery, the real one, the broken one. Her phone buzzed around. 3 p.m., unknown number, hope you're safe, power's back. Made dinner in case you're hungry. She stared at the message. He had her number. Probably from the rental paperwork. Or maybe he'd taken it from her phone. That should have scared her. It didn't. Instead, she found herself driving back toward the cabin as the sky turned gold. When she pulled in, he was on the deck, reading the same copy of Tolstoy she'd seen. The first night, he looked up, and for a moment, neither of them spoke. Then, "Hey," he said. "Hey," she replied. They stood like that, on opposite sides of the porch, with the weight of what happened between them filling the air. "About last night." "Don't," she cut in gently. "Not yet. I need to ask you something first." He nodded. "Are you married?" He looked genuinely shocked. "No. God, no." "Are you?" "No." She took a breath. "Are you dangerous to me?" The question hung. He didn't answer right away. When he finally spoke, his voice was steady. "Not in the way you mean. I'd never hurt you. Not physically, but emotionally." He looked down at his hands, then up at her. "I think we could destroy each other pretty easily." It wasn't the answer she wanted, but it was honest, too honest. "Malik," she said. "Who are you, really?" He stepped forward slightly, still holding her gaze. "I could ask you the same thing." They both looked down at their phones as they buzzed again almost at the same time. They glanced at each other. "This is crazy," she whispered. "Completely," he said. But neither of them moved. Not toward the door, not away from each other, because, deep down, neither of them wanted to leave, not yet. The next few days passed like a delicate dance. Too close, too careful. Zarya and Malik moved around each other, as if touching too long might burn everything down. They ate together, but didn't talk about the storm, or the kiss, or the night spent tangled in each other like lifelines. He cooked breakfast. She washed dishes. They traded books, shared space, but kept their confessions locked tight behind their eyes. On the fourth morning after the storm, Zarya woke up to the smell of fresh coffee. A mug sat on her nightstand, still steaming. No note, no sound, just ... coffee. Exactly how she liked it. She came downstairs, expecting to see him in the kitchen. He wasn't there through the window. She spotted him behind the house, splitting firewood like he was working through something that refused to leave his body. He moved with control, discipline, precision. Everything about him looked strong, composed. But she knew better now. He was hiding. "Everything okay?" he said from behind her. She jumped. "Didn't hear you come in." "Sorry," he said. "Didn't mean to sneak up on you." She turned to face him, heart still racing. "Thanks for the coffee. You looked like you needed it." You were up late again. She had been listening to him pace. Listening to the phone calls. The ones he always took outside. The ones that ended with him walking back in, looking like he was ready to break. "Work stuff?" she asked. "Boring legal things," he said without flinching. There it was again. That tiny hesitation. The way his tone flattened when he mentioned being a lawyer. The way his eyes didn't quite meet hers. "Must be a hell of a case," she said lightly. "All those late-night calls. Clients blowing up your phone." He shifted toward the counter. "And what about you? Your family still trying to get you to come home. They're worried I'm isolating. My mum thinks I'm running from my problems. And, are you?" She hesitated. "I don't know," she said finally. "Maybe." Their eyes met, and something passed between them again. A flicker of honesty. "I think sometimes," she said slowly, "you have to step away from who everyone expects you to be, before you can figure out who you actually are." Something flickered across his face. Recognition, maybe relief. "And have you figured it out?" "No," she whispered, "but I'm working on it." He smiled. Soft, crooked, like someone who didn't get to smile that way often. "Well, for what it's worth, I like the version I've met here." She didn't know how to respond to that. "Even though you don't really know her," she said quietly. "Especially because I don't." Before she could say more, his phone buzzed. Again. He tensed. "Not gonna get that?" she asked. "I'm on vacation." The phone buzzed again. Louder. "Malik, it's not important." But she could see it was. In his posture, in the His hand hovered near the phone but didn't touch it. "Take the call," she said. "I'll give you space." He hesitated, then finally gave in. 5 minutes, he muttered, already heading for the deck. "I'm sorry." Zaria watched him through the window as he answered. The shift was immediate. The man she'd been talking to vanished. What remained was someone colder, harder, focused. He stood stiffly, gesturing with sharp movements. His voice clipped sharp, controlled but aggressive. She didn't need to hear the words. She saw the truth in his body. This was the version of him he didn't want her to see. This was who he really was. And despite everything, despite every reason to walk away, Zaria didn't want him to go back to that life. It started over something small. Zaria picked up Malik's coffee mug from the sink. It was still dirty. The same one he'd used that morning. "Seriously," she said, holding it up. "We agreed. Clean up after ourselves." Malik didn't even look up from his laptop. "Sorry, I was distracted by what another urgent legal matter that makes you pace around the house every night at midnight." His eyes flicked up. There was something in his expression she hadn't seen before. Annoyance. "Excuse me." "Nothing," she said, turning back to the sink. "No. Let's not play that game. Clearly, you've got something to say." She turned to face him, her arms crossed. "Fine. Who keeps calling you, Malik? Who are you arguing with outside? Who keeps blowing up your phone? I told you. Clients. What kind of corporate lawyer takes heated calls at 11 p.m.? What kind of lawyer has 0 files, never mentions cases, and can't answer basic legal questions I've asked casually all week?" He shut the laptop. Hard. Quotes, "The kind who doesn't owe you an explanation. The kind who's lying," she snapped. "You're not a lawyer. You don't know the first thing about corporate law. I've tested you, Malik, 3 times. You failed every time." He went still. "You tested me. The way you talk about contracts, procedures, your language. It's wrong. Either you're the worst lawyer alive, or you're making this up." His eyes narrowed. "And you'd know all that." "How?" She froze. Because she'd said too much. Because, she said carefully, "I work with lawyers." "No, Zaria, you don't." He stood now. The tension between them grew heavy, charged. "You're not just some burned-out professional on vacation. You dodge every question about your job. You analyze everything I say. You watch me like I'm a case study. I never claimed to be anything, but you act like one. So tell me, what are you? A therapist? A social worker? A psychologist?" Her silence said everything. Malik stared at her, breathing hard. "I knew it," he muttered. "You've been analyzing me since the first night, because I couldn't help it." The words came out before she could stop them. "I didn't want to. I didn't mean to, but I'm trained to see things. Body language, behavior, defense mechanisms. I can't turn it off." He stepped closer. "Is that why you're here? Because you couldn't turn it off?" "Partly. What else?" Her voice dropped. "Because a patient of mine fell in love with me. I handled it wrong. I referred him out, but it was too late. He tried to take his life." Malik's face shifted. "Did he make it?" "He survived, but barely. And now I wake up every day wondering if it was my fault." The air between them grew heavier. "And you," she said suddenly. "What are you running from, Malik? Because you're not a lawyer. So who the hell are you?" He hesitated. And for a second, she thought he might tell her. Then his phone rang. He looked down at the screen. Whatever softness was in his face disappeared. "I have to take this." "Of course you do." He stepped outside. She heard his voice through the window, low and tight. Quotes, "No. I told you, I need more time. You don't understand the situation. If I come back now, it all falls apart." When he returned, his face was unreadable. "I need to go into town," he said. "Probably won't be back till tomorrow, for work." Something like that. Zaria didn't answer. Just watched him walk toward the stairs. He paused at the bottom. "What I said about you analyzing me," he said without turning around. "I shouldn't have made it sound like an accusation. The truth is, I think you see me more clearly than anyone has in a long time." And then he was gone, leaving her with nothing but questions, guilt, and the echo of her own mistakes. The house felt different, without Malik in it, too quiet, too still. Zaria made herself dinner, but barely touched it. She read 2 pages of her book, but her eyes kept drifting to the deck, the place where he'd stood on those calls, where he'd told her half-truths with eyes that looked too honest to doubt. Part of her was relieved to have the house to herself again, to think, to breathe, but another part, it missed him, his presence, his tension, even the mystery. At 10 p.m., she heard a car in the driveway. He walked in, looking exhausted, shirt wrinkled, hair undone, shoulders heavy. "I thought you'd be asleep," he said. "Couldn't sleep." He dropped his keys on the counter. "Zaria, about earlier, you don't have to explain." "Yes, I do." He sat across from her, something raw flickering in his eyes. "The call? It was from my lawyer." Her heart skipped. "Lawyer? I'm in trouble. The kind that could end my career." "What kind of trouble?" He looked away for a long moment. "I got involved with someone I shouldn't have." The words hit like a slow wave. "Someone who was vulnerable," he continued. "Someone who trusted me, and it went wrong. It went really wrong." Zaria kept her face still, but her heart was racing. He looked at her again. "I crossed a line. A serious one. And now I'm facing an ethics investigation." Her chest tightened. "So that's why you're here." "I'm not hiding. I'm trying to figure out who I am when I'm not my title. Because if I lose that, if I lose my license, I don't know what's left." She studied him, looked for the lies, the spin, but all she saw was regret. "Malik," she asked slowly, "what did you do?" He hesitated. "I started something with a client. After I ended the professional relationship, I waited, but it still feels like maybe it wasn't enough." Zaria leaned back, arms folded. "Was it mutual?" She signed a waiver, said she wanted the relationship, but now she's saying something different. Zaria's throat dried. "And what do you believe?" "I believe I cared about her, genuinely. But I also know that I had power. That maybe she didn't know how much." She stayed quiet. "Is that why you're so heavy? With guilt?" she asked. "Because of what she's saying, nor because deep down, you're not sure you didn't take something from her she wasn't ready to give?" Malik looked down. "I'm not sure of anything anymore." They sat in silence for a moment. Then Zaria said quietly, "I understand more than you think." He raised his eyes. "I had a patient," she whispered. "A young man who became attached. I was careful, always kept it professional. But he fell for me. And when I referred him out, he tried to take his own life." Malik froze. "He survived, but barely. And I've been carrying that with me ever since. Wondering if I missed signs. Wondering if I handled it too cold. If I did the right thing. Or just the thing that protected me." Malik's voice was low. "Did he tell you how he felt?" "Yes." "Did you ever feel anything for him?" She closed her eyes. "I don't know, maybe, but I didn't act on it. I couldn't." He nodded slowly. "So we're the same?" "No," she said. "We're different. Because I ran. You crossed the line." He swallowed hard. "And now we're both sitting here," she added. "Broken, guilty, and not sure how to forgive ourselves." They looked at each other. Not with judgment, but with recognition. "Malik," she said softly. "The woman you got involved with, did she hurt herself?" He looked up quickly, shocked. "How did you?" "Because I can see it in your eyes. The same guilt I see in mine." He didn't answer. He didn't need to. They were both haunted by the people they couldn't save, by the mistakes they couldn't undo, by the weight of being the ones who were always supposed to have the answers. And right now, they had none. Only the heavy silence of shared pain, and the fragile thread that kept pulling them closer anyway. Sat on opposite sides of the couch, not touching, barely breathing. Zaria's arms were crossed tight, her legs curled beneath her. Malik sat forward, elbows on knees, head low. "So that's it," she said finally. "You're just going to ride this out and hope it goes away." He shook his head. "It's not going away. I'm under review. If they believe her version, I lose everything, and her version is that I used my influence." That I blurred the lines. That I manipulated her. Zaria's voice was cold. Did you? I didn't mean to. That's not a no. He looked at her, face tight. Zaria, I terminated the therapy properly. I waited before anything happened. She wanted it. She said she wanted it. She was your client. She was vulnerable. And I cared about her. I didn't prey on her. You don't get to decide that, she snapped. She does. He stood up, pacing now. So what? I'm just a predator now. That's what you think? I think, she said, standing too, that what you did crossed a line. And I think you've spent so long justifying it, you've convinced yourself it was love. It was love, he growled. Not everything is black and white, no, she agreed. But some things are. Their voices were rising now, raw, full of things they hadn't said. You want to talk ethics? Malik said, stepping closer. Let's talk about you, hiding, running, pretending you're better because you didn't act on it. I didn't. She yelled, I kept boundaries. Even when it hurt, but you wanted to, he said. Didn't you? She froze. I saw it, he continued. The guilt in your face. The way you talk about him. You wanted to cross that line too, you just didn't. I fought it, she whispered. Every damn day. Then how are we any different? Because I didn't do it. Silence. Just breath. Then Malik's voice broke. Do you know what it's like to be the one who gets blamed for love? To give someone everything and then be told you abused them. Zaria's chest was rising and falling fast. Do you know what it's like to be afraid of your own instincts? To wonder if the thing you're best at is actually dangerous. Malik looked at her. Really looked. They were both unraveling, coming apart in front of each other. And maybe, finally, they were done pretending. I lied to you, he said. No. I'm not a lawyer. I haven't practiced therapy in 6 months. My license is frozen. I came here because I didn't know who I was without it. I came here because I didn't know if I deserved to have mine. They stared at each other, all the noise between them finally stripped bare. What is this, Malik? She asked. What are we doing? I don't know, he said. But the night we spent together, that wasn't a lie. That was the only thing that felt real in months. Zaria's voice dropped to a whisper. We're bad for each other. Definitely. We're both too damaged. No argument there, and we still don't even really know each other. But somehow, he said, stepping close, you make me want to try. She didn't stop him when he touched her. Face. She didn't flinch when he kissed her. This time, it wasn't desperate, it wasn't stolen, it was deliberate, it was surrender. And when they made their way to the couch, tangled in each other, it wasn't about lust or guilt or escape. It was about finally being seen. To people who'd built walls to protect others. Letting someone else in for the first time. Later, wrapped in his arms, Zaria whispered, This doesn't fix us. I know, we're still broken, but at least we're not breaking alone anymore. The morning sun slipped through the curtains, painting the room in soft gold. Zaria woke to Malik's fingers, gently tracing circles on her shoulder. Neither of them spoke at first. Silence felt easier now. I called her last night, he said quietly. Zaria didn't move. Tiana, I told her it was over. Really over. That I can't give her what she needs, because I'm in love with someone else. Zaria turned to look at him. How did she take it? Better than I thought. I think she already knew. She said she hoped I'd finally learn the difference between needing someone and loving them. Have you yet? I needed Tiana to feel important, but he met her gaze. You make me want to be better. Zaria swallowed hard. A warmth bloomed in her chest. She hadn't felt that in a long time. Not from words that didn't ask her to shrink, or serve, or fix. Just be. I'm going back to Charlotte, she said. Back to work, but I'm doing things differently this time. Less perfect, more human. He smiled. That sounds like the therapist I wish I'd found years ago. She smiled back, small but real. And us, I don't know what we are. Two therapists who probably shouldn't be together, but can't seem to stay apart. Maybe that's enough. For now, they lay there a little longer, holding silence like something sacred. Later that afternoon, they packed their cars. 2 weeks had passed, but it felt like a lifetime. As they loaded the last bag, an old pickup truck pulled up the gravel road. A weathered black man stepped out, looking shocked. "You're checking out today?" Zaria and Malik exchanged a quick look. "I just got back from South Africa yesterday," the man said. "I'm the owner. Heard there was a booking disaster while I was gone. My assistant said the system glitched and double-booked the house. I was sure I'd come back to police tape or lawsuits." "We figured it out," Zaria said with a smile. "Worked out better than we expected," Malik added, reaching for her hand. The owner raised his eyebrows. "No arguments, no refunds." "Nope," Zaria said, glancing at Malik. "Some mistakes turn out to be exactly what you need." The owner shook his head, still confused. "Well, I'm just glad nobody got hurt." They drove away together. Both headed back to their real lives, but no longer alone. Zaria leaned her head against the window and laughed softly. It was absurd. Two broken strangers accidentally shoved into each other's lives by a tech glitch. But maybe it wasn't an accident at all. Somewhere deep in her chest, something whispered, "Your heart knows the way, always."